Hi, I'm Jessica Hagen and owner of Jessica Hagen Fine Art and Design, and I'm here today with artist Wiley Holton. Wiley is one of the artists in our three-person show called Translations, which is currently on exhibit as we speak. And I'm a big fan of Wiley's work. Back in 2022, I was part of a panel of female gallerists who were speaking at the Boston International Fine Arts Show. And after we were done with our panel discussion, I couldn't wait to get out into the fair and go look at all the different booths of work. And I found myself in the emerging artist section, and I was like a moth to a flame. I could see Wiley's booth, and I was like, I need to go there now. I mean, I can't, I get chills when I talk about it. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I walked into your booth, which was very busy, and a gentleman had just bought the big blue painting that would have also been mine had it not gone. But I immediately bought a beautiful orange square, which now hangs on the wall of my home, and I look at it every day. I enjoy it every day, and I'm thrilled that you're now showing your work with me. And you've been in a couple of group shows before, yes. But this is the first time with a big body of work.
Yes.
So it's a thrill, and the response has been great. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm also thrilled to be here.
Good. I'm so glad. This show also features Lorraine Minelli and Karen Eichelhart, and they're at different places in their careers, so it's really a nice contrast with kind of the lives of an artist, an emerging artist, kind of a mid-career artist. Karen's a mid-career artist. But it's always exciting when somebody's kind of still in that starting out phase. So I really wanted to do a deeper dive into your work. So if you maybe want to start by telling us a little bit about your background, your education, I think that would be good.
Yeah. So I went to Colby College in Maine, and I graduated in 2019 with a degree in studio art, specializing in painting, and I also studied math, which you can see in my work.
That shows through for sure.
And so I graduated in 2019, and then I jumped right into trying my hand at full-time art. Took a little step into doing part-time while working during COVID, and then a year and a half later, 2021, I was then doing full-time again. So I'm painting every day, and yeah, working with you has been kind of that landmark spot in
that's great.
The last few years. Yeah,
That's great. I knew when I saw your work instantly, I knew you had it. You can just, I'm doing what I do for as long as I've done it. I mean, I've had my own business for 20 years. I ran galleries for two other owners for 10 years before that. And I don't know, it was palpable. I knew. So it's a thrill. So the painting that I have of yours that I bought at the Boston show does not have the kaleidoscope drawing over the top. And the kaleidoscope just adds this additional layer of beauty and interest. So can you tell me how you went from just the individual, and I don't mean just because they're fabulous, but I mean just using the color bands to then adding the drawing over the top in this series?
Yeah, definitely. So your piece was part of my Horizon Line series, which again, just bands of color. Each stripe is the same width, and it's a gradient. And so I landed on the Horizon Line series because I wanted to get color back into my paintings. I had done my senior thesis piece. It was a big black painting, 6 by 6 feet, with just graphite kaleidoscope on top.
And that's the piece that Colby owns.
Yes,
Which is huge.
It's in their collection. Yes, it's a huge honor.
Yeah.
And I was working in that style, black background with graphite for a while, and I was missing having color in my paintings. And so I did a little bit of a sidestep to the Horizon Line series, because I just needed color and I couldn't initially figure out how to integrate the two. So I just did a little sidestep, and then from there, I went into my motion series, which is also a gradient of color, but vertical stripes instead, with white lines on
That's
top.
what we showed a couple of months ago.
Yes, exactly. So all of the lines are white lines on top, and so I really liked how that was working, but I wanted to kind of introduce even more color. And when I landed on flowers as my kind of first foray into representational abstract art in a way, I knew that I wanted to incorporate kaleidoscopes and colored stripes. The proportion of the colors, I have a little nod to the anatomy of the flowers, and then having all the pieces be squares was also a nod to the fact that flowers are innately symmetrical, at least on one axis. Like a bird of paradise, they don't look as symmetrical, but they're symmetrical on at least one axis. So
Well, and they're very structural. Like a bird of paradise is such a, it looks engineered.
It does. It certainly does.
And your paintings, they're obviously very deliberate. They're very designed.
Yes.
In that same kind of way.
Yes, and structure is a big piece in all of my work, and so I wanted to definitely include that in how I am interpreting the flowers with that structure and symmetry. And adding my own kind of asymmetry in there as well, because the lines themselves, it is not perfectly symmetrical with the drawings on top, but the kaleidoscopes themselves do have their own sense of symmetry as well. So layering those.
So I've had this conversation with several people who looked at the work, and we've all said, how did you have the courage to go in after these beautiful, pristine paintings, these color bands, and then to go in and to draw on the top? I mean, so tell us a little bit about that.
It is definitely nerve-wracking, especially this was my first foray into changing colors of colored pencil between each stripe. With the motion series, it was all white colored pencil, so there was no changing, no worries about am I going to smudge a darker colored pencil onto the lighter stripe right next to it. So it was a lot of trial and error of taping down some paper to cover sections while I worked on others. I use drawing compass and protractor in all of my kaleidoscope paintings, so covering up the protractor with very translucent tape so that I could still see all the numbers and everything, but so that I wasn't smudging the actual black ink that demarks the lines on the protractor. So, or flipping the protractor over so I'm reading everything backwards so that I still am not transferring any black onto it. So just a lot of trial and error, a lot of finagling with different
Courage.
Definitely.
Why kaleidoscope?
Kaleidoscopes, I encountered them in college in my senior year when we were finally, set off on our own to figure out exactly what we wanted to do besides still lives. And I've always loved math and that kind of the physicality of math and the tangibility of math. So none of the abstract math, that was not my thing. But playing with shapes and also the kind of rigidity of kaleidoscopes and how everything had their own little place felt really, really great with how I kind of encounter the world and how I naturally think. And so I really loved how those felt when I was drawing them out. It felt very therapeutic to just even draw them out, and then kind of figuring out if I was going to just kind of repeat them over and over, which I love to do, or break them up and start them and stop them wherever. That was also kind of a next step that I was excited to take with them at that point. So I landed on them because of math and just kind of, yeah, how they fit into my brain so well.
Yeah. Well, in your statement about this body of work, you use the word complexity, which I think, I mean, when I discuss it with people, that word comes up over and over again. And things that are complex, sometimes complexity is a negative. It's overwhelming, it's too much, it's complex and you can't figure something out. So in this case, the complexity, in my experience, and pretty much all the experience of anybody walking in here, has been that the complexity is fascinating. Like, people are like, what is that? Is that a universe? Is that a solar system? And then I say kaleidoscope, and then it makes perfect sense. And it's been a really additive thing. Because too, not everybody wants to talk about art. You know, they just want to look at it, enjoy the colors of it or the design. But it's really been a pleasure to do, you know, a more in-depth conversation with people. So with your experience of ADHD, because I don't have ADHD, I can't really imagine what it's like for you. So but I think of ADHD as being kind of a complex condition to have to live with and manage. So how does the complexity of the artwork with having ADHD, how do they meld? How is that marriage made?
Yes, so the complexity is something that I really enjoy. The complexity of the making as well is a big part that I really enjoy, and that I find very therapeutic, like I was saying, and it really just fits with my brain. My brain loves, you know, that structure. Everything has its own little place. It might still be chaotic, but it's in its own chaotic place. So that is definitely kind of a little peek into how my brain works with ADHD. Definitely not how everyone with ADHD's brain works, but this is kind of a little look into mine. And I have found kaleidoscopes to just also be a great way for me to actually get the work done, because a lot of times, you know, I can get stuck on, if I'm not fully enjoying something, it's hard for me to do it, whether it was a subject in school that I didn't like, it was just kind of impossible. But if it's something that I thoroughly enjoy, then it is something that I can just do again and again and again. So that's what I found with the kaleidoscopes. There's endless possibilities. You know, as a kaleidoscope turns, everything changes a little bit. So there's just really endless possibilities with kaleidoscopes that I really, really love.
Wow. So here's a profound, giant question for you. Why are you an artist?
I am an artist because I think I have to be.
I'm not surprised by that answer. I'm so glad.
Since I was little, I've always found drawing or art in general to be my easiest form of communication. My mom loves to tell the story of, we went to the circus when I was 3, and we came back and she asked me what my favorite part of the circus was. And I did not utter a sound. I just ran to my room and grabbed a paper and markers, and I drew out my favorite scene, which I think was like a trapeze or something.
I love it.
She's like, since then I knew. And so it has just continued to always be my easiest form of communication, my most natural form.
It's exciting. It's exciting to think about what could possibly be next, because really these paintings, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so I often feel like I've seen everything, you know, in a way. When your work came along, especially with this series, this was new territory, and it's wonderful. So I look forward to continuing to exhibit your work and to see where it all goes, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.